Struggling to get your business online? At Domains2U, we make it easy with fast domain registration, powerful web hosting, and top-tier security solutions. Our hosting solutions ensure speed, security, and reliability with 99.9% uptime and daily backups. Find the perfect domain name and get online in minutes. Get started today at domains2u.com.au.
Well, a very good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, racing fans. It's that time of the week again, Monday night, time to settle in, get your fix of racing action right here on Simple Racing Broadcast. My name is Jared Cole, and welcoming back all of the new viewers and, of course, all of our returning viewers for tonight's Gen 3 Supercar action. And after a thrilling start to the season in the rolling hills of Mugello, the MC Motorsport V8 series, proudly brought to you this season by Domains2U, lands on American soil for round 2 at none other than the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. From the roar of the oval sections to the rhythm of the road layout, Indy is a venue steeped in motorsport history. But this GP configuration throws its own set of challenges at these drivers tonight. Tight chicanes, some heavy braking zones, and an infield that is much trickier than it first appears, which is going to demand absolute precision from all of the drivers. Joining me a little later in the booth tonight is none other than Nick Potasso. And on behalf of everyone here at the MC Motorsport team, very, very nice to have you with us again this evening. Qualifying getting underway as we speak. We'll go and check out all the action from that in just a moment, and a little bit to talk about perhaps in the standings so far, even after just one round. The race format this evening, though, 2 races tonight. It is a feature round layout, which means a half-distance sprint followed by a full-distance second race. 16 laps for race 1 and 32 laps for race 2 here this evening. Of course, the standard series rules apply. It will be a reverse top 10 grid for race 2, and the 80-litre fuel tank limit applies right throughout this season. That is a 21-gallon limit for those of you tuning in from the United States and anywhere else that still uses gallons. I can't imagine there's too many. The weather conditions tonight, look, it is hot. The track temperature has dropped significantly since practice. It was up around 40 degrees a little earlier, but it is coming down as the day starts to cool off. Still 27 degrees, quite a bit of humidity, quite a bit of cloud around, so the slightest chance of a little bit of rain later. It's looking pretty unlikely at the moment, but you never can tell. Just a little bit of breeze around as well. It should be a very, very nice night of racing, I am sure. Before we go down and check out the qualifying action, let's take a bit of a look at how the championship stacked up after round 1. And in the chase for the overall championship, Brett Loxton came out well and truly ahead from round 1 to 3 sprint races. The Team Jig Shifters entry just was so consistent and picked up a whole bunch of the points. Not all of them, though. It was fairly well spread around the top 5 or so. Thomas Wilson picking up a good number of points along with Will Buchanan. Jamie Dyke ending up in 4th from that round, just ahead of Jackson Starrett. Ryan Palmer surprising everybody by making it not only into the top 10, but actually 6th, ahead of James Salhani. Then Thomas Hinz, Kyle Ridley, and Daniel McCrowan all featuring in the top 10 as well, but plenty more still in the hunt. Aaron Gilbert and Josh Harris just outside, nipping at the heels of that three-way tie for 8th. It is still early days in the season, of course, but plenty of points on offer here tonight. 100 points in the sprint race, 200 points in the feature race. A bit of a departure from last season's setup with equal points in each race, so that should prove very interesting here this evening, I'm sure. When we separate that out and take a look at the Amateur Cup, Ryan Palmer leading that fairly comfortably over Josh Harris, but the ADHD Racing entries really taking the top of the standings at the moment in that AM Cup competition. Mitchell Curry from MC Motorsport right there in 3rd place, and then Luke Speck and Daniel Harrod just behind. But again, it's only a single race in, so there's still plenty to play for here. Let's go down and check out the qualifying action on track. If you are floating around in the chat, do say hello. It'd be nice to have some company here while we do wait on Nick joining me in just about, we'll call it 10 minutes time or so. He will be getting in the booth with us. But for now, let's go trackside. It is absolutely time to go racing here at Indy, and we might start off by taking a look, as always, at last season's champion. This is, of course, David Coleman, who currently running 3rd in the qualifying session, and certainly looks to have a pretty good bit of pace about him tonight. Again, maybe not quite the results he was looking for last race, but look, it would be the first time he's come from a bit further back in the field. Worth noting as we take a look at the laps going on right now, Nathan Bowman looking to improve his time pretty consistently from 26th, so we'll see what he can do there. Brett Loxton, though, remains the absolute fastest on track, and I think he's going to be one for us to watch this season. A big hello to Courtney and Yak Nastar. Thank you, I appreciate the company, guys. It's always good to have you along. We'll make sure we keep up with everything going on as David just overcooks those rears a little, just a little, and ends off in the grass. Hey, we've got a fair few faces tonight that perhaps we didn't get much of a chance to take a look at last week. You know, they were involved, but really all eyes in race 2 of round 1 were firmly on the battle between Jamie Dyke and Ryan Palmer. Palmer did an amazing job of holding off Jamie Dyke for almost the entirety of race 2 before finally capitulating just a lap and a half from the end. And Jamie Dyke this time looking to cement his spot pretty firmly up the order. Currently sitting in 4th with his teammate just ahead. It might be a bit of a night of domination from the fishy drivers. We'll wait and see what actually happens though when we do get out on track. Plenty left to go though. Let's talk a little bit about the course tonight. It's always interesting when you come to these road courses at oval tracks because the infields are so different, and yet the run, as we see another fishy car jumping on track. Was that David Coleman just jumping out behind him? I believe it was. There we go. The infields, look, they do pose a completely different challenge, but the drivers still have to be aware of the banked part of the circuit. Now, the Indy Road course changed not all that long ago. I think it was about 2012, 2013 that they actually changed the layout. But prior to the current layout, they actually did use a much larger section of the outer banked track. I think tonight these drivers will be very, very happy to hear that they won't be doing that high-speed banking because it would absolutely shred the tyres in these sort of conditions. Still hot track temps, still a lot of racing ahead, so that will take that out of the equation a little. But the infield section for Indy, look at the challenging one. It looks like it should be fairly high pace, but it's actually one of those tracks where it's a lot faster to take that slow and smooth approach, as is often the way with Gen 3 supercars, of course. But all of these turns are set up either as chicanes, which of course require their own discipline to attack, but really as very late apex turns. And so the drivers will need to get the pace well under control before they try and commit to that, or risk not being able to get the power down. G'day Scott, welcome to the chat. Hope you're well, mate. We have a great night of racing ahead. I do notice that you're not in the session though, mate. What's going on? Hope you're doing alright. We're just checking out some of the qualifying action. Thomas Hins up there in 7th as well in the Team Jinx Shifters stable. Just out there and getting his best laps in at the moment. Daniel McCrowan just crosses the line and jumps up into 2nd, only just behind Brett Loxton. So McCrowan not mucking around yet again. And I like to think Thomas Hin's having a giggle because someone's telling him that he's on the broadcast right now. Give us a wave if you know that we're here, Thomas. We'll see. We'll see. Excuse me, folks. Just coming off the back of being a bit unwell, as is often the case at this time of year. We can't, of course, forget Kyle Ridley out there from MC Motorsport. Got to give your man a bit of screen time, don't we, Courtney? Got to happen. He's on track and look, doing reasonably well tonight. Sitting in 15th at the moment, but again, so little to separate these drivers. 15th is all of 1.1 seconds away from that pole position. It's really not much. Really not much at all. It's a fairly quick lap here at Indy, about a minute and a half per lap. So we're expecting it to be a reasonably close qualifying session, and you can see that it's certainly shaping up that way. Yeah, he's been a little bit slack on updating that livery, hasn't he? I would have thought you'd be on to him about it. But anyhow, we're here for it. It's looking good. Doesn't look quite as much like a Mustang, which is probably what I like so much about it. Some of the other names that we might recognise out on track, Ryan Palmer. Look, I don't know what this guy's doing in the AMP Cup right now, honestly. The way he's driving the wheels off this thing at the moment, that Camaro doesn't know what to hit it. Considering his performance last season, and watch this, commentator curse coming right up, but note his performance last season. I mean, he's qualifying 5th at the moment. Still got a couple of minutes to run as he pulls into the pits, but it's a pretty good performance from someone who's meant to be down in the AMP Cup space. So I don't think he's going to be lasting there. I think we'll be seeing him up into the pros next season at this rate. Ian Ward out on track as well, a privateer entry, doing his best to get the times in there. I actually hear a little bit of a sneaky rumour that, if I'm not mistaken, Ian may have graduated from controllers onto an actual wheel and pedals. So given how quick he was with a controller, if that is the truth, then I reckon it's only a matter of weeks before we see him really wrap his head around it and get up the front end, because he was devastatingly quick with a controller in hand. I can't imagine the racing wheel is going to be too much different for him as a result. We're getting just towards the end of qualifying now. Brett Loxton's still holding the top spot, but I don't think just. Daniel McCrowan's out there doing his best to improve his time. But I tell you what, 200th of a second is not a whole lot to work with, but it will feel like a very, very long way for Danny McCrowan as he tries his best to just reel in that pole position for the start of tonight's racing. It is, of course, a sprint to kick us off. If you missed that earlier, folks, 16 laps around here, followed by a 32-lap feature race in race 2. So all to play for in the feature. Get yourself set up, and of course the reverse top 10 will play its part, but 32 laps here. It will prove interesting. There's not a great deal of overtaking opportunities in the absence of mistakes from drivers in front. Only a couple of straights where you're going to have the chance to get the pass done under braking. So we will have to see what strategies kind of evolve and show themselves this evening. And just see what these drivers might have up the sleeve as we get into the last 20-odd seconds of qualifying. Daniel McCrowan gets it done by 1,000th of a second over Brett Loxton. How about that? What a finish to qualifying for him. 1,000th of a second quicker. And I don't think somehow that Loxton's going to have time to get out there and respond, because that, my friends, is the end of qualifying as we come around for the final time. We'll get ready for the grid to officially make its way up here, but I suspect that we'll be talking about a very, very interesting race ahead with such a close qualifying field. Here we go, folks. This is what it looks like here tonight. Danny McCrowan taking the pole by 1,000th, just sneaking it in the dying seconds of qualifying. Then Brett Loxton will join him on the front row. Will Buchanan and Thomas Hinds take the second row. Jamie Dyke and Ryan Palmer on the third. So Palmer, a cracker of a qualifying result there. David Coleman and Thomas Wilson on row 4. Then Kyle Ridley and James Salhani rounding out your top 10. As we look further back through the field, Aaron Gilbert and Luke Speck line up alongside each other with Jackson Starrett and Dean Power behind them, and Josh Harris and Dan Bartouche ahead of Matt Bakir and Jared Burns. Ian Ward and Daniel Harrod rounding out your top 20. Chris Lashbrook and Jim Ianides behind them, then Ronald Long and Trev Mortimer ahead of Adrian Gresh and Martin Lipsky, with Nathan Bowman and Brian East rounding out the grid here this evening. it will be an interesting one. 28 cars around a fairly short circuit. I'm expecting, look, maybe not fireworks, but something close to it would be nice. Scott, you know, you'd think it's as close as it gets, but I actually, believe it or not, just happened to be looking at one of our old pieces of coverage. If anyone remembers the GT3s at Daytona, going back to season before last, I believe it was. And we actually have... He's fixed his camera. Ryan Palmer's in the chat just to let me know he's fixed his camera. Thank you, mate. We'll make sure we get a look at you if we must at some point. We actually had a 0,000th gap for pole in that one, which was pretty bloody impressive as we go down to the start line and wait on these drivers getting ready to go. So yeah, it can get pretty close. It can certainly get a lot closer than perhaps what we've seen here tonight, but it's not far off it, is it? We'll wait just a little while, a couple minutes left for these drivers. In fact, only about a minute left to go before we get underway here for race number 1. Let me know who you're tipping out there for the win tonight. Danny McCron's got to be a shot up front. Brett Loxton there as well. I don't know, can Ryan Palmer deliver again? There is the question. Yeah, go back and take a look at it at some point, Scott. It's, it was the Daytona night round. GT3s, it was back when we used the white background behind the MC Porsche as the YouTube thumbnail. So you'll find it there, and I'm pretty sure that was a dead heat. Of course, iRacing does record the qualifying times to a finer degree than just thousandths, but that's of course all we see on our end. So it was a pretty impressive one to go back and have a look at. Team Jinx shifters for win. All right, Brett Loxton. Look, I mean, my money's got to be with you. He's certainly shaping up as a bit of a favourite here for this season as we wait for the confirmation from the starter that we're about to get underway. Just getting word in from the back of the grid, all the drivers ready to go. Let's get this underway, folks. Race 1, 16 laps here at Indy Road. Hold on to your hats because here we go. And the cars take off, and an amazing launch from Brett Loxton. What a start for the Team Jinx Shifters entry. Not a fantastic start, however, for it looks like poor Thomas Wilson just struggling to get it off the line there as we make our way down to turn 1. The cars side by side, we're seeing 2-3 wide already as we get to a very, very tight first turn. Bit of a lock-up on the inside, and straight away, one of the Sideways Esports cars is around. We've got dramas immediately. Dan Bartouche getting caught up in that as well. We look further down through the field. Everyone's starting to get themselves sorted out, but I tell you what, not the start that some of those drivers would have been hoping for, I am sure. As Brett Loxton leads them out, we'll see. It looks as though we might be about to get our first safety car of the night, and it does indeed look that way. Safety car has been called. Lap 1, and we have the safety car out. Not surprising. Of course, turn 1 here at Indy Road is a very, very tight one, and to see the cars try to go 2-3 wide, yeah, look, it's a bit brave, isn't it? It's a bit brave. Brett Loxton, though, gets us underway. We'll get on around, and we'll try again after, I imagine, a fairly quick sit behind the safety car here as they make their way back onto the main straight, or actually onto the outer banking, I should say, because we've got a little bit more of the inroads to do yet. So that turn they've just taken was in fact where they used to go ahead, turn 12 there. They've just added this little kink in towards the pit lane, which slows them down considerably. I can only imagine what it'd be like in a Gen 3 supercar hammering towards turn 1 here with a full half turn essentially of the oval circuit to get your pace up. That would be a little terrifying, honestly. Bear with me, folks. I will do my best to keep it all going here tonight without having to listen too much to my hacking and coughing going on. Come on, Spud, where are you? Come and save me from myself, mate. So, as it starts to stack up, the Porsche safety car is out on track. Brett Loxton sits comfortably out in front as the rest of the field just sorts themselves around into their correct positions. I might go back and see if I can get a bit of a look at just what happened with that opening corner. Dan Bartouche certainly got caught up in it, but it looked as though it might have actually started with Luke Speck coming together with... I'm actually not sure who he came together with, but let's go back and see what we can see. Watch carefully for Luke Speck. Gets the big touch there from Was that Dan Bartouche? It was. So Bartouche has actually spun spec, and that's what set this off. And you can see there, it's poor old Dean Powell ended up facing backwards and just had to wait it out. So massive issue for him, dropping 13 spots as they got underway again. But yeah, Spec, Starrett, Powell and Bartouche all caught up in that, unfortunately. And, you can see a lot of the drivers getting in. Yeah, Scott, look, it's a good question. I don't actually have ears on race control. We did have this conversation last week around one of the safety cars that came out and didn't actually clear up, essentially, in time for us to get the safety car off the track at Mugello. So yeah, it's look, this one is ultimately last week, and you'll have to sorry folks, just bear with me here as I'm getting word through from my co-commentator that looks like I'm flying solo this evening, so now you definitely have to keep me company. And unfortunately for all of you, you're stuck listening to me for the rest of the evening. So last week we did question why there was another lap under safety car, and the biggest issue was just trying to sort all the drivers out into their correct order. It was a bit of mayhem as we tried to figure out just who was meant to be in which position before the restart. So yeah, hopefully not too long to go under the safety car here, but we'll wait and have a look and just see if we can indeed find any reason for that this evening. Only one lap in. It is a shame, but yeah, look, not surprised to see it. Honestly, turn one was always going to be an interesting one, to say the least. Let's take a look from Epic's perspective. You can see that he unfortunately was just on the outside. Jackson Starrett tried to get out of the way, tapped Bakir and spun him around, and in doing so has essentially taken out Luke Speck again as well. Ian Ward somehow looks like he might have gotten around the outside of it. Just barely taps, I believe, Luke Speck there, but gets away with it. So, you know, just unlucky, I guess. And that's all it is sometimes in these lap one, turn one incidents. Sometimes the only thing that gets you through, it's not skill, it is just the luck of the draw. So, anyhow, we do have another... Now this is interesting. I thought we were talking 16 laps, and I apologise, it is 18 laps here for race number one. So the upside of this safety car period is it's bringing you down to about 16 laps of racing, so it does line up with what I said originally. That counts, doesn't it, folks? I don't know. Let's roll with that. I'm going to try and find Josh Harris if he's around to come and have a chat to us and just let us know what he's picking up on. Because I know he's out there on track at the moment, but if we can get him in here, we'll try to. We wait for the race control team to confirm, and sure enough, there it is. Safety car is coming in this lap, so certainly a much shorter session under safety car this week than we saw at Mugello. Primarily here, honestly, just due to the shorter lap distance. I think that's always the problem, isn't it, when you get to those longer tracks? Yeah, look, spot on, Scott. It is a skill in itself, absolutely, to avoid cars on track, and that's often what keeps you in the battle, isn't it? Something that I've started to learn more and more in my own iRacing, I don't know if you call it a career, but my experience with iRacing, is that half the battle is just knowing how to stay out of the way of the other cars that you know are going to send themselves in turn one, turn two. Loxton just backing the pack right up here. Jamie Dyke's looking up the inside. He's going to need to get back in line. Here we go. We're underway. Loxton makes the jump and does it well. Gets away from McCron, Buchanan, Dyke and Palmer all left sitting still. Keep an eye on Buchanan on the inside, because here comes Jamie Dyke looking straight up the inside of that corner. I don't know if he's going to get there. There it is. There's Palmer slid sideways. We'll go back and we'll take a look at that in just a second, I'm sure. And more chaos reigns, as is always the case on the restart. There's always that danger. Aaron Gilbert looks like has had some issues back there as well. Loxton, though, out in front. Nice, clean clear, just out ahead of Danny McCrone and then Jamie Dyke. and Will Buchanan a little further back with Ryan Palmer now out of the picture at the top of the table. At this stage, no sign of our safety car coming back out just yet, but we'll have to just give it a moment, see what happens as our drivers make their way once again around the course here. It's not an ideal start. It is only a sprint race, so every lap under safety car does cut down the on-track time pretty significantly and really does limit your ability to get the passes done. These Gen 3 supercars, always difficult to make a pass in. You do need an opportunity just like this. A hard braking section at the end of a straight is where you really do have an opportunity to send it. But here at Indy Road, those inner curbs, they are deceptive. They are absolute giants of things, and you really can't afford to bounce even a Gen 3 supercar. You can't afford to bounce them over those particular ones quite so hard as you might want to. So we get underway. Brett Loxton out in front, immediately setting a cracking pace of 1:30.281. So he's wanting to get a move on and get this race done and dusted if he can. Josh Harris, we notice, has just moved on up. He's up into 8th now, up 7 spots. Bit of a battle going on back here though, as we take a look just further back. The battle for let's call it 10th, although as you can see there's quite a few cars within a fairly narrow band of each other. We might just try and cut that down a bit for us if we can. Here we go, Salhani and Wilson. Wilson all over the back of James Salhani tonight, so here's the battle for 9th field. Josh Harris, you can see, just out in front and getting away with it for the moment, as Wilson takes the opportunity on the back of that straight. Big run off into the grass, locks it up. The question is, can he pull it up? Now that's gonna cost him a massive slowdown here as well, so he's gonna have to redress that position to Salhani, as well as dealing with the iRacing slowdown, I'm sure. In saying that, it looks like Wilson's actually got a slowdown here to worry about, so I can only imagine that Salhani is on the radio right now, just asking about that one. That was a very interesting line we just caught there. Check out David Coleman though. He gets around the outside of Ridley, back on the inside. Watch for Harris now make the move. Ridley finds himself a little bit isolated just on the outside, and he's going to be on the outside for turn 1 as well, so it's going to be down to who gets on the brakes last. At the moment, Josh Harris just sitting in behind Coleman, quite comfortable to wait there. Ridley on the outside, on the brakes fairly early, wants to just try and slot in, but Harris is going to sneak on through, locks the brakes just a little. Can he get it done though? Ridley back on the inside, recovers the position, closes the door on Josh Harris, and Harris is going to have to wait and give it another crack next time around. Further back, Adrian Gresh gives up the position to Chris Lashbrook, trying to catch up to his teammate, and in the background, Jared Burns from Black Hawk Motorsport did have a big think about whether or not he was going to follow that through. As we try to stay with all the action here tonight, there's plenty going on. But Gresh, Burns and Harrod, absolutely the ones to watch right at the moment. Further up through the field though, this continues. Coleman setting the pace. Ridley now just trying to hold off Josh Harris. I don't know if he's got the pace here tonight that we've seen from Ridley throughout the earlier race at Magello, but we'll see if the setup's got anything to do with it as the race progresses, as these tyres come up to temperature after that start under safety car. Nathan Bowman in the pits, as is Trev Mortimer, so whether there's been a bit of an issue in the background, we might just have a quick look at that. Looks like Trev Mortimer has run off track. Go up to those replay. Oh, it's not off track, it's a big send into the wall. That's going to have done some huge damage to that car, and we'll see if we can pick just who that was trying to make the pass there, because I can't see for the life of me who that might have been. Brian East got caught up there as well on the way out of that corner, so whether there's some debris on that turn or not, Brian a little bit more fortunate in not tapping the wall there. Yeah, spot on, Scott. That jump off the curb is probably going to be what undoes a number of these drivers tonight. But we'll see if we can get any repeats of that. Now Wilson's back behind Salhani. Unfortunately, we don't know whether or not that's been ordered by race control, or perhaps it's just a gentlemanly return, or perhaps Salhani's earned his way back to it. But in either case, they're going to continue to battle this out here. It's a fairly commanding lead right now. Brett Loxton, as we look up front, 1.5 seconds around a track like Indy Road is nothing to be sneezed at. He's absolutely on the move here. And Danny McCrone and Jamie Dyke are going to have to start thinking about working together. Take a look back. We've got all sorts of action here. Lipsky, Burns, and Power coming together. Lipsky gets caught up. Starrett gets turned around from in front. And unfortunately, you see him stranded in the grass in the background. And that is the nature of Indy Road, folks. These corners are very, very narrow. And going side by side, you have to be absolutely committed to want to get that done. Jump back up front. Danny McCrone and Jamie Dyke come across the famous Brickyard start-finish line. Jamie Dyke has a bit of a look up the inside. He's not going to get it done on this turn unless he's very late on the brakes, but he does want to just keep him on his toes. McCrone quite comfortable. Camaro looking very, very composed right now. We head into lap 8 of 18. Still about half this race to go. Lipsky's into the pits. Not surprisingly, a bit of damage to be repaired there. I might go back and just take a quick look at what happened earlier with Nathan Bowman to send him into the pits as well. The iRacing Designs replay picks this up, and a big moment there. Luke Speck's so lucky to avoid the wall. Somehow he's kept that Sideways Esports entry off there. Let's take another look at it. Big lock up from Bowman, and Speck right around the outside just gets it moving before going into the wall. So plenty to keep an eye on here tonight, folks. I will do my very, very best to keep on top of it for you. Check out Dean Power, though, and his teammate Jared Burns going out here, 19th and 20th. Two Blackhawk Motorsports cars as Burns moves out of the way and Power continues his charge back up through the field, trying to recover the spots that he lost in that Turn 1, Lap 1 incident. The drivers that are looking, unfortunately, a little worse for wear so far. Trev Mortimer, Nathan Bowman find themselves well towards the back of the pack. Chris Lashbrook has ended up back there as well somehow. But out in front, it is all Brett Loxton right now. As well as this one here, James Salhani and Wilson come together. Salhani gets turned, Wilson around the outside. Now, can Salhani get moving there? Because that is a dangerous spot to be stopped. Just gets it going before Gresh comes past. So I suspect we'll be hearing more about that as the week progresses. Wilson, meanwhile, continues on, now needing to defend from Jimmy Anides from JTIT Race on Oz, who's going to get a big look up the inside here into Turn 1. Late on the brakes, not late enough. Wilson goes deeper into the turn, and he'll get to hold him off for just a little bit longer. There's plenty going on in the mid-pack here tonight, folks. It's, I don't know what the go is. I don't know who's what's the saying that's actually YouTube safe? You know what, there isn't one. Let's just roll with it. Plenty of battles in this mid-pack from about 8th or 9th back to 18th or thereabouts. This is where the action is, and certainly the only real pack that we've got on track at the moment is right about here. Sort of 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, we see the Kia, Ward, Gilbert and Palmer all just stacked in there at the moment. And yeah, there's a little left to figure out between the four of them at the moment. Not a particularly tight battle, but it has been fairly consistent. They're about the only cars on track, bar McCrone and Jamie Dyke in second and third, that haven't actually managed to get themselves any real clean air from each other at the moment. The rest of the field starting to move back and forth just a little bit, but these guys just cannot seem to get any distance. Of course, Bartouche now coming into it at front, as we see Gilbert make the move past Ian Ward, gets around the outside of them, come on in to the turn, and now he's looking ahead to Matt McGear, who's ever so slowly getting dragged back into it. Dan Bartouche, so up in front, crosses the start-finish line to retain 14th for another lap. Now keep your eye up front here, because Will Buchanan is starting to enter into the mix. Danny McCrone, maybe just slowing Jamie Dyke down a little, although Dyke hasn't been all over the back end of him right now. But Buchanan in fine form, starting to close the gap to the Fisher Motorsports driver. All three of them, though, the gap to Brett Loxton out in front continues to grow, just nipping at 2 seconds earlier. James Salhani now making the pass with Gresh. Gresh is well off the track, so whether he's lost some pace there, I'm not sure. Side by side, though, Harrod and Bartouche come under the Verizon Bridge. Harrod just pushing Bartouche as wide as he can there. And Bartouche get an under over here, can't quite get it done. Harrod retains 13th spot. Mapakia in the background, just starting to reel him in a little bit, along with Gilbert and Ryan Palmer, who continues to try and battle his way back towards the front of the pack. Turn 1, lap 1, always a cracker, isn't it? James Salhani, it looks... This is the incident earlier with Thomas Wilson. You can see Wilson up the inside. There's contact there. And Salhani right now doing his best to recover. Back up into 11th. Just ahead of the battle you see on your screen now. But a decent amount of time left to go here. Keep an eye though in the background, Aaron Gilbert and Matt Bakir. Does Gilbert have the run down the main straight to make the pass? He certainly thinks he does. He puts the nose up the inside. He's going to be counting on late breaks. Watch for the dip. Bartouche, big lock-up. Lucky not to go into the back of Harrod. That's going to send him wide. Gilbert goes through. Can he make up 2 spots here on Bartouche? Bartouche struggles to get back on track. Under, over, under again. Ian Ward off the track in the background. But Gilbert gets 2 spots in the matter of 2-3 corners. Fantastic little set of circumstances letting him just make his way a little further up through the field. Ian Ward, you can see back on track in the background, but that has cost him just a few more. We'll go back and see if we can pick up just what he's done there. But being turn 1, I suspect just a bit of a lock up on that inside right. Couldn't get the traction. Now he's just got to get back on and somehow reinsert himself into this mess. Thankfully, a bit of an exit road there to help him get back on cleanly and not bring too much debris onto the track. Now up in front, Danny McCrowan starting to open up a bit of a gap over Jamie Dyke. So Dyke maybe not quite the pace he thought he had earlier. Buchanan starting to threaten more and more as this race continues, but he is running out of time quickly as we head on to lap 12 of this sprint race tonight. We've got, look, huge amounts of separation, which is really unusual. I wasn't expecting to see quite so much of a gap between the cars after the qualifying run that we saw. But here we are, and all of a sudden the first 15 all with a second or more between them, save for this battle right here, Jamie Dyke and Will Buchanan, quite comfortably as they make their way over that chicane curb, and the Gen 3 supercars doing what they do best, just bouncing over them like they're not even there. Tell you what, there's some of those curbs you can get away with that here. It's not all of them by any stretch of the imagination. Brian Palmer in the middle of this. We go back to the battle for 15th. Bartouche, Bakir, Palmer, Powell. The 2 AM drivers stuck in the middle of the 2 pros. But Bakir and Palmer certainly exerting their own little bit of influence here wherever they can. Again, over the chicanes. The Gen 3s love to eat them up most of the time. Palmer, a good run of pace there. He's going to look down the side of Bakir. Sets up on the inside. He's going to go for the late break. Very, very late braking there. Side by side, Bakir backs out of it just a little. And Palmer sneaks on through. He'll continue to try and follow down Bartouche here as Bakir starts to drop off the back already. And spot on. It is absolutely a great comeback to see from Aaron Gilbert. Considering the start of the race, a lot of these drivers have been really having to work for their progress back up to just their starting position. If we do take a look at the gains and losses, a bit of tyre smoke there from Gilbert. Not surprising though. Been pushing that car pretty hard. Gets back under control, but Bartouche and Palmer now find themselves right on his tail, so we might just have a little bit of a battle going on here for the next couple of laps that we'll keep an eye on. But if we do take a look at just the positions gained and lost so far, really just a huge number of losses through the field from that turn 1 lap 1 incident. And not necessarily big losses, but Jimmy Anides and Adrian Gresh really coming out well ahead compared to where they started this race. So we'll keep an eye on them, see where they do finish up. Right now, Jimmy Anides up into 10th after starting all the way back in 22nd. So a very, very solid drive indeed. Take a look up front. Jamie Dyke and Will Buchanan continue their battle for 3rd. Buchanan getting that gap down from just under a second to closer to nothing at the moment. And Jamie Dyke, you'd have to think, is starting to feel just a little bit of pressure. The gap in front to McCrowan now to almost a second and a half. The gap forward to Brett Loxton now just over 3 seconds from Jamie Dyke. So Dyke really fighting for a podium here. And Will Buchanan is going to make him earn every little bit of that. Lap 14 begins. It's crunch time for some of these drivers. Jamie Dyke and Will Buchanan particularly need to start to think about sorting out who's who here. Jamie Dyke's got all the defensive work to do, and hopefully he's taken a few tips from none other than ADHD's Ryan Palmer at Magello last week, as he'll be wanting to make that Mustang as wide as he possibly can the next few laps, because Buchanan certainly seems to have the outright pace over him. here in race number 1 tonight. The maybe not so surprising call though. We did see, of course, the prediction from Scott earlier, Team Jinx shifters for the win. So far, Brett Loxton making it look like it couldn't have been any other way. McCrollin's doing everything he can to reel him in, but just cannot seem to close that gap, despite the fact that Jamie Dyke continues to drop further and further behind. That said, McCrollin, look, their lap times fairly evenly matched. McCrollin's carving maybe a tenth out of Loxton on each lap, so it does speak well for McCrollin's pace at this point in the race, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to have to really up that if he wants to close down anything like that 2.5 gap before the end of race 1. Perhaps he's just happy to finish in that top 2 and be on that 5th row with the reverse top 10 for race number 2. We'll have to wait and see. There's Jamie Dyke just starting to stretch his legs a little here and just give himself a little bit of breathing space. We'll jump back here though, because the battle continues in 13th. Gilbert, Bartouche and Palmer have just been travelling along as a little posse here almost. And all of a sudden, Daniel Harrod has 3 cars in his rear view that I'm sure he swears weren't there a moment ago. But here they are, and just off the back of them, Dean Powell thinking about getting in on the front as well. Aaron Gilbert gets the run off the turn. He's got some pace. It's going to be enough to get there by turn 1. Probably not, but he's going to have a big look at it. Moves inside. Harrod moves across to defend as well. Dives back to the outside. Gilbert, a nice braking line. Very, very late. Very smooth on the brakes. Gets it done. Harrod drops back and Gilbert moves up into 13th. The question now, can Bartouche and Palmer follow through? Or is Gilbert actually going to get a bit of breathing room here with the assistance of Daniel Harrod? Oh, big move from Palmer. He's got the run out of the corner. Bartouche is going to have to be very late on the brakes to hold him off here. Palmer senses the opportunity there, side by side, a little bit of a run of the panels. Palmer rides the curb up and over, and in the end, that's enough to let him through. Apparently Palmer just doesn't want to wait for Bartouche to make the move on Harrod. That said, Dean Powell now pushes Bartouche just a little. Nothing in that, but it's enough to just upset Dan's lines through that. The ETS Motorsports entry drops another position. And Palmer and Powell now desperately trying not to let Aaron Gilbert get too far away. Further up through the field though, Thomas Wilson has latched onto the back of Josh Harris from ADHD. And he's going to be looking, it's got a lot of pace. It's got to be an error from Harris just a moment ago to allow this, because Wilson has so much more speed down that main straight. Josh Harris lets him go through. He's going to look to go over under, but Wilson well established in the corner by that point. And Josh Harris can do nothing but watch him disappear off into the distance. With that in mind though, let's go on board with Josh Harris and see just how much effort he's putting in here, because he looks, I've got to say, he looks pretty bloody relaxed tonight, doesn't he? For a bloke who's just been passed. But that said, he's got 3.5 seconds back to Jimmy Anides in 10th. He's got only a couple laps to go. But it does give you an idea of just how slow this infield at Indy is. It's not often that you see Gen 3 supercars dropping down to this sort of pace through multiple corners. We might just jump on back out of here and go take a look at what's happening with Adrian Gresh though. Big moment there for Aaron Gilbert. So Gilbert's made it through on Adrian Gresh, but in the process, he's sent his car just a little sideways, trying to get that power down. Certainly has the pace, but here comes Ryan Palmer as well. Still hasn't managed to get past Harrod, but they're not losing any distance, more importantly, out in front. Now up front, Jamie Dyke almost losing the position to Buchanan. Buchanan continues to threaten. Thomas Hinds now joining in on this one. So just under 2 laps left to go here in race number 1, folks. I'm not quite sure what Buchanan's going to try, but you'd have to think that he's got something up the sleeve here. With a lap and a half to go, Jamie Dyke's going to have to be absolutely precise with every turn. He's going to have to be thinking about how to defend here, because Buchanan will want a piece of him at every turn. That said, Thomas Hinds in the background might just make it a little easier for Jamie Dyke, because Buchanan's having to watch his mirror now as well, as the Team Jinx shifts his entry. Threatens just a very, very close moment there. almost thinking about going up the inside. I think he's going to have quite the space to do it here on this lap, but setting up perhaps for the final lap. Out in front, Daniel McCrowan doing a phenomenal job, has reeled Loxton right in, saving this burst of pace for the last couple of laps, down to a half second. We haven't seen any issues for Loxton. He hasn't run off track or anything of that nature, so just the sheer pace that McCrowan's been able to deliver. He's gone from cutting a tenth or so to cutting 3 or 4 tenths off a lap. There's our white flag. We're on to the last lap now. Loxton has to hang on for just one more, and he will take the points here in race 1 for round number 2. Plenty of amazing driving so far, and in fact, Daniel Harrod, oh, a big moment, power up the inside. Harrod and Palmer coming together. Palmer gets away with it. Harrod doesn't quite. How they thought they were going to fit 3 wide through there, I have no idea. Dean Power now and Bartouche, a little bit of a rub there. Bartouche just forcing Power wider and gets through the ETS Motorsport Camaro, forcing its way through. They're going to take the run all the way down to turn 1 though. Dean Power right on his tail and looking at the inside. The question will be, does Bartouche go back wide again, or did he stay in? He stayed right in on that corner. That's going to give Palmer a lot of extra pace in the background. These guys side by side through turn 1. Bartouche has to run wide, Power has to pull it up short. Ryan Palmer gets straight back into it as a result. This is going to be tight. Dean Power on the offensive, jams his car up the inside, forces Bartouche wide. Ryan Palmer thinking about following him through. It's all going to depend over these next few corners who ends up the inside. There's going to be contact there. Bartouche gets pushed very, very wide. Just barely keeps the car straight and on the concrete. And out of all of that, Ryan Palmer finds himself up another position and into 14th. What a sequence of corners, folks. This is the sprint. We've still got what must be 36 laps to go in race number 2. But the story tonight, Brett Loxton comes across the brickyard, takes the win ahead of Daniel McCrowan. Jamie Dyke follows Thomas Hinds, or rather Thomas Hinds and Will Buchanan following Jamie Dyke through the start-finish line. And now a real procession of cars all separated out by a couple of seconds. So we're going to jump back to this battle because Palmer and Power, with just a few corners to go, nothing in it. And Bartouche still wanting to carry on this battle with Dean Power. Look out for this one in race 2, folks. I reckon there's probably going to be just a little bit of red mist in that cockpit right now. Power sends it all the way to the wall. Big contact, trying to extract some extra speed there. But in the end, Ryan Palmer gets home with just over 2 tenths of difference. Jared Burns, though, side by side with Starrett at the line. It looks like... Oh! Starrett gets him by just under 1/100th of a section. Nothing in that one for Starrett and Burns at the line either. Some really, really close finishes right up and down the field here tonight, folks. As we wait for the last of the finishes to come across, Ronald Long, Brian East, Chris Lashbrook and Martin Lipsky just rounding that final turn now. Race 1 done and dusted. What a way to start off our night here at Indy Road Course. And the points look like this. The results from Heat 1. Brett Loxton taking the win and the 100 points. Daniel McCrowan just a half second behind. And then 4 seconds in the end back to Jamie Dyke with Thomas Hinds not too far behind. Will Buchanan and David Coleman finishing out right in the middle of what will be the reverse grid. And then, of course, Kyle Ridley in 7th, Thomas Wilson in 8th. Josh Parris sneaking into the top 10 and Jimmy Iannetti's a very, very solid 10th position for him. James Salhani ending up in 11th ahead of Aaron Gilbert, who had a great recovery to get back to 12th ahead of Gresh and Palmer. Dean Power and Dan Partouche behind them. Then Harrod, Speck and Bakir, the 3 AMs holding off Jackson Starrett. Nothing much in it though between Jackson Starrett and, if we go just a little further back through the results, Jared Burns, you can see there less than 100th in it. So very, very tight finish there for 20th position. Ian Ward and Ronald Long behind them, then Brian East and Chris Lashbrook. Martin Lipsky finishing on the lead lap. Trev Mortimer, unfortunately, finishing a lap down with Nathan Bowman as well. And of course, our race control folks just a little further back. Some awesome battles there for race 1. Folks, we're going to take just a moment for me to go and grab a glass of water because I'm doing half the double speaking, half the shutting up, I suppose, that I usually would. So bear with us here. We'll jump to a quick ad break and we will be right back as we get ready for race number 2.
Struggling to get your business online? At Domains2U, we make it easy with fast domain registration, powerful web hosting, and top-tier security solutions. Protect your data and customers with premium security features like domain privacy and SSL encryption. Find the perfect domain name and get online in minutes. Get started today at domains2u.com.au.
That awkward moment when you realise you've got to redo your Stream Deck profiles. Warm up going on in the background, ladies and gents. We've got race number 2 just ahead of us. As I look to just confirm the laps for this evening. Of course, this season a little bit of a different setup. We had a very specific number of laps included in each race session last season. This session it is varying a little bit, primarily based on the time taken for each race. So if you haven't been keeping up with the Discord, first of all, get yourself over there and join the Discord to keep up with all of the news and action from each of these series. The setup here for our feature races: 25 minutes in race 1, 50 minutes in race 2. So each week the league admins do just calculate out what that looks like in terms of laps. Obviously safety cars can extend that a little bit from week to week. But generally speaking, what we should be expecting in these feature rounds is a 25 and a 50 minute race. So 32 laps, minute and a half. I think that's going to look pretty good. The question will be, can we get through turn 1 on lap 1 without any issues? Not so sure on that, honestly. But we'll have to wait and see just what turn 1 brings us. I don't know. What do you reckon, folks? Tell me your predictions for this one. We'll of course have a reverse top 10 grid, so I think we'll see Brett Loxton having to push pretty hard to get from 10th up to 1st, but he's got a lot more laps to do it in, and you'd hope that he'd play it safe. Track temps still about the same as what we started with this evening, back up to around 40 degrees. The temperature's still 27 degrees. Still clouds around, but nothing on the radar in terms of weather, which I'm sure all these drivers will be very, very grateful to see. As we take a look, the weather forecast actually clearing up. We were looking at the potential for just the tiniest little bit of precipitation during race 2, but that has cleared, and we are going to just see overcast conditions for the rest of this race, with no hope of rain, according to iRacing anyway. Calling carnage turn 1 lap 1. Yeah, look, I don't know. We saw in round 1, race 1 was super clean, and race 2 kind of devolved into a bit of carnage. I'm wondering if we might see the reverse here in race 2. Maybe what we're going to see is a much more subdued start to this race after the carnage of race 1. That's just wishful thinking on my part. Hard to say. Here's the grid for race number 2. Jimmy Anitas and Josh Harris take the front row. Thomas Wilson and Kyle Ridley behind them, then David Coleman and Will Buchanan. Thomas Hinz and Jamie Dyke, then Danny McCrone and Brett Loxton. Rounding out your front 5 rows, your top 10, of course, reversed from their finishing positions in race number 1. We go further back down the grid: Salhani and Gilbert, 11th and 12th, then Adrian Gresh and Ryan Palmer, Dean Power and Dan Bartouche, Harrod and Speck, ahead of Bakir and Jackson Starrett. Harry Burns and Ian Ward, 21st and 22nd, with Ron Long and Brian East behind them. Then Chris Lashbrook and Martin Lipsky ahead of Trev Mortimer and Nathan Bowman, who I'm sure will both be hoping to improve their position this time around. Not what they would have had in mind for race number 1, I am sure. But the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, Nathan Bowman, we can only hope, is going to make the grid and get back out there. Of course, tonight being a feature race setup, the points on offer here, 50-50 chance you're right or wrong, Scott. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's decent odds. It's better than you get at most casinos. So, go with it. Let's not question it. We'll see 200 points on offer here in race number 2. So we'll have to just wait and see again what sort of results we might get towards the championship tonight. It's going to be a bit different, I think, to the rest of what these drivers have been used to in the previous rounds, simply because of the points being doubled here. So it does help out just a little for drivers in the second race. If they haven't had a great first race, they're not racing the same number of points this time. So, worth them putting in that bit of extra effort. Of course, the problem then, if they push too hard, is that they end up having a terrible second race, and it's all for naught. The good news is drop rounds. Rounds 1, 2, 3, and if I'm not mistaken, 4, all eligible as drop rounds this season. Perhaps even round 5, but I think it's actually only round 4, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just verify that for you, folks. Because, of course, these little changes season to season just help to build on a better and closer finish each time. So there you go. Rounds 1 to 5 are drop rounds. 6, 7, and 8 cannot be dropped this season. So staying consistent there as we wait for the last of the drivers to make their way to the grid. Just 20 or 30 seconds to go before they miss their cutoff time and have to start from the pits. Everyone just going to get themselves rehydrated a little and getting ready for what is going to be a very, very interesting feature race, I am sure. Wait for the last of the cars to get to the grid. Thomas Wilson just taking a few extra moments there. Got confirmation all drivers are on the grid now. Race control confirms we are ready to get started. The green flag waves at the back of the field. Here we go for race number 2, our feature race this evening. The lights come up. Watch the start from Indianapolis, and we're away. Green lights on. Josh Harris gets a fantastic start off the line, as does David Coleman. Will Buchanan and Jamie Dyke following them through as well as we make our way down towards turn 1. Now, here we go. What have we got in store for us this time around, folks? Harris on the outside gets across. Cole Ridley takes the inside line. David Coleman sneaking through there as well. Everyone's slowing right down. There we go. So we are seeing a much, much subdued... I spoke too soon. Big moment in the background. The Simrigs entry of... Just try... Was that Luke Speck getting caught up in it again? It might have been Daniel Harrod getting into it, the Antic Motorsports entry, as they make their way through the chicane. So far, so good. We head down to turn 7. And a bit of back and forth between Thomas Wilson and David Coleman. Wilson going up the inside, going to force his way through. Will Buchanan around the outside. Josh Harris and Kyle Ridley quite enjoying a bit of breathing room as everyone struggles to sort themselves out in the pack behind. Through the turn 8 and 9 chicane, Wilson gets pushed very, very wide. Coleman takes full advantage of that through turn 10 as we make our way through 11 and 12. Look at the gap starting to open now. Harris and Ridley creating as much distance as they can. Wilson and Coleman getting really, really caught up in this battle, and it's costing the entire field time. Turn 13. The gap continues almost 2 seconds after a single lap. At some point, you'd have to expect that these guys start to just settle down and settle in to the race proper. As the Gen 3 supercars look for top speed back onto the main straight. Look at this gap already, over 2 seconds now. David Coleman's going to have to do some work here to catch Harrison Ridley. Not the start he would have hoped for this 36-lap second race. But the battle here, Thomas Wilson and Will Buchanan now getting amongst it. Jamie Dyke, probably the smarter move right now, just sitting back a little and letting it carry on, because there's contact there, and that'll be a red flag for Jamie Dyke, figuratively, not literally. Buchanan just runs wide as a result, and Jamie Dyke takes the opportunity. McCrowan in the background looking to get through as well. Thomas Wilson making the most of it to try and close it up ahead. Buchanan, big moment into the back of Jamie Dyke. That's Dyke backwards from that contact. We said earlier that some of these curbs are not the ones you want to jump, and that is a prime example of why. They are huge, and they will flip the car sideways in an instant. Ryan Palmer goes up the inside, rides one of the safer, flatter curbs here at the Indy Road Circuit, and makes his way on up into 8th. Plenty going on already, and it's only lap 2 here, folks. We're in for another cracker. Aaron Gilbert in amongst it as well, just battling it out with James Salhani and trying his best to hold off the JTIT race on Oz entry of Ianides behind him. The racing order just starting to settle down now. Can report Nathan Bowman has made it back to the grid, along with Trev Mortimer. And you'll see them battling it out back here. Side by side, Coleman sets the fastest lap at 29.6. So he's got the foot down. Tyre management has gone out the window. He wants to reel in Harris and Ridley now. Go back up front. Ridley and Harris remain locked in it. David Coleman's cut that down to a second already. So make no mistake, David Coleman does not want that gap to remain that far open any longer than it absolutely has to. Thomas Wilson a second and a half further back, then a 1.3 second gap back to Brett Loxton and the rest of the pack. Dan Bartouche now, looking at the back of Adrian Gresh. He goes to the inside. He's going to take a dive under brakes here. Bartouche just a little earlier on the brakes. This is going to be close because Gresh is going to come across the front of him. That curve is the one that we've seen send a couple of cars tonight. Bartouche makes the right call, backs out of it, gives himself just enough space, but could have ended in tears. Jackson Starrett all over the tail of Daniel Harrod here in the Antic Motorsports entry. And there's Jamie Dyke all the way back in 18th, so he's going to have to just get his head on and settle in for the next 30 odd laps to try and recover back towards the front of the pack if he can. You can see already though, he's starting to look for the moves. Up the inside, doesn't have the room to get done with Jared Burns from Blackhawk Motorsport just shutting the door. Take a look further back though, Ronald Long, Luke Speck just making the pass look easy in the end. But we'll jump up front because Kyle Ridley's up the inside into turn 1. Josh Harris, is he going to hold him? Ridley jumps the curb, that's going to slow him down just enough for Harris to get the nose back in. Side by side through 2. They come down to 3. Harris will be on the outside. He's going to have to try and keep the pace up here. Gets on the brakes a little earlier. Here comes Coleman. Charges up the inside, leaves nowhere for Harris to go. Oh, and contact in the background. There goes David Coleman into the wall. Oh, might have just got it pulled up. No, he's made contact. That's going to be significant damage. He's going to get it going again. But in amongst all of that, Josh Harris has found himself wide, and so Loxton and Thomas Hinds have made their way through. So the 2 Team Jinx Shifters entries making their way back towards the front of the pack. Could we see another Team Jinx 1-2? Oh, geez, there's a thought. Still a long way to go, I know, but Scott, come on, give us your 50-50 call. Team Jinx 1-2. Who's going to be number 3? Aaron Gilbert's got some work to do if we want a 1-2-3 though. He's back in 9th at the moment. Stranger things have happened, folks. Stranger things have happened. Jamie Dyke continues to try and get back through the field now. He's still stuck at the moment, back in 16th. He's made it past Jared Burns, but Starrett and Daniel Harrod lie ahead. 2 of them locked in it, not leaving much room for Jamie Dyke to get much of anywhere at this stage. Remembering that he does have to think about fuel capacities with the limited fuel tank here. Only 80 litres on board these Gen 3 supercars in this series. Loxton closing in now on the back of Thomas Wilson's Sideways Esports. Oh, just a moment there. Wilson's pushing hard to try and hang on to this, but those rear tyres already starting to show just a little sign of giving up the grip. This is about where we expect it. Somewhere in that first sort of 5 to 7 laps, you really do see these tyres drop right off, and you do have to just manage through that for a few laps before you get a bit more grip back. Daniel McCrowan up the inside of Josh Harris. Josh Harris, a beautiful under over, gets back around. A mistake from McCrowan. Is there going to be contact here? Or just a little? Macron just pushing a little hard and Harris squeezing for the inside and hitting that apex. But in the end, he's going to hang on to this. Ryan Palmer watching his teammate up ahead. Oh, a big, bold movement there from Harris to shut the door on Macron. Macron dives to the inside. He's going to pull that side drive, which is going to slow Harris down as they make their way down to turn one. We're looking at 3 wide here. Surely Palmer's not going to send it into his teammate. Look out on the inside, though. Aaron Gilbert in the background, big lock-up. Gets it pulled up just in time. We're about to have 5 cars all piled into the turn 1 wall. Macron back in front of Josh Harris, somehow. Tell you what, folks, the racing so far, we're only in round 2. We're only in race 5. And you consider the 3 sprint rounds we had to start. Already, the quality of racing we're seeing this season has stepped up just to a whole other level from what we saw in season 1 of the V8s. And that's to be expected. Of course, the first MCV8 series, the first season, rather, starting only a matter of a week after the Gen 3 supercars were released here on iRacing. And so the car's fairly unfamiliar for a lot of these drivers. Now that people are starting to find their form, we get battles like this for first. Ridley, Wilson, Loxton and Hinds. There's the 2 Team Jinx Shifters entry. Sideways Esport entry of Thomas Wilson. He's been aggressive all night tonight, so Kyle Ridley's going to have it all to do here if he wants to hang on to first. And at this stage, there's such a long way to go in this race. It's way too soon to be thinking about going full send, surely. Across the brickyard once again. Thomas Wilson's got a good run on here, as does Brett Loxton. They both look to the inside. Ridley's going to have to be very, very late on the brakes. Loxton wants to follow Wilson through. Wilson, Ridley's gone just a little bit wide. That opens the door for Wilson to potentially get the pass done. They're side by side as they come to turn 3. Ridley just giving up the position at the moment. And he's going to be forced wide. Here come the 2 Team Jinx Shifters entries. Can Ridley hold on to third? Really doing everything he can here, but Thomas Hinds a lot of pace as well. Wilson, the speed in that sideways Esport Mustang. Someone get him to the scrutineers. There's something going on there, I reckon. Way too quick. Wilson, Loxton, Ridley and Hinds. The order changes, but the quality continues. The same 4 gladiators just mixing up in terms of position. Let's take a look back from Thomas Wilson's car. Because right now he needs to be absolutely on pace to hold off all 4 of them. Loxton looking threatening. There's the move in the background. Kyle Ridley gives up third, drops in behind Thomas Hinds. So the 2 Team Jinx Shifters, Scott is spot on. The speed through the corners of these Jinx Shifters entries is immense. So they're set up absolutely on point tonight. Thomas Wilson, though, can't argue with what he's got going on either. He's certainly had the pace right throughout tonight. Here go the 2 ADHD entries, the Domains2U sponsored pink, white, and I can't even call that blue. We've got to call it aqua, don't we? You're absolutely right, Scott. They do look pretty bloody good on track. Not going to lie. Fortunately, I don't know that necessarily translates to extra pace as much as they'd like it to. James Salhani just challenging them a little in the background. Luke Speck further back. Battling it out with the other ADHD entry, Nathan Bowman, desperately clinging to 22nd. Speck gets just a little bit loose, which might be enough to save Bowman as he slides it around the outside of the turn. In the end, Speck just too quick through the corner. Look for a little bit of contact there. Bowman not giving it up. Speck turns across the front of him. Now, is there going to be a slowdown in that for Speck? Doesn't look like it. I've got to be honest, folks, I haven't driven Indy enough to know just how aggressive the slowdowns actually are here if you do cut the corners like that. By the look of Luke Speck's pace, I don't know that it's going to make a whole lot of difference at all. Thomas Wilson now under attack. Loxton has found a way through to him. Going around the outside, Thomas Hinds continues to hassle from behind as well. Are we going to be 3 wide into turn 1? It looks that way. Here we go, onto the main straight. Thomas Hinds locked into the slipstream, gets in behind his teammate, goes to the outside for the corner. Wilson's going to have to be spot on with his braking here if he wants to hold on to second, much less first, but gets it done. the better position, but runs very, very wide under brakes. Here they come. Hinds can't quite get around the outside. Ridley had a great run, but had to park it to stop from running into the back of the Team Jinx Shifters entry. And now McCrohan's in the mix as well. 5-way battle for first. Loxton finally gets the clear air that he's been waiting for. And Wilson now holding off an absolute horde of quicker racers behind him. And I say that with the greatest of respect to Wilson's pace, but Hinds has just been absolutely monstering the last few corners. He's almost thinking about another go there. Drive-through penalty issued. Lap 1, turn 1. Car number 15 for the contact with 93. So that is Luke Speck and Dean Powell having come together. Speck getting the drive-through penalty. Will take him from 22nd, probably all the way back to the lower part of the top 20. This end of the field, though, the battle continues. I don't know what you're going to be doing here in Thomas Wilson's shoes. You've got 3 very, very quick drivers behind you. Sure, you're quick in your own right, but you just want to get on with catching back up to Loxton in front, and instead you're spending your whole time watching the rear view to defend against moves that might be coming, and you can see Hinds just creeping the nose out there, just to remind Wilson he needs to keep an eye backwards as well as forwards. Meanwhile, we jump further back. Jamie Dyke, look at the pack of cars in front of him that he's looking to just navigate through at the moment. Jackson Starrett immediately in front of him. Then Salhani and Harris battling it out just ahead. Adrian Gresh and Dan Partouche up at the front of this pack. Will Buchanan in the background. There goes Dyke through on Jackson Starrett. Can Buchanan follow? That's the question. Buchanan looks for the drive out of the corner. Not going to get it. They bounce over the chicane once again. Buchanan's going to have to settle in and maybe just think about it for next time around. Mitch Curry. What are you doing in the chat, my friend? Aren't you meant to be out on track somewhere? Hope you're all right. As we see, Harris just caught in the middle of it, but really doing himself a pretty good job of getting the car around at a decent pace. Starting to see some significant differences though in just some of the pace of these cars. The 5-second time penalty for 188. So that's James Salhani for the contact with Josh Harris. The redress was noted, which brings it down to the 5-second penalty instead of the, I imagine, 10 or 20 that it would have been under the rules. Speaking of the ADHD entries, as we see, hang on, Thomas Wilson and Thomas Hinds side by side at turn 1. Wilson again having to defend that position. You're going to have to come back to that every lap, I feel. Because these two are going to keep going at it, and all that's doing is allowing Brent Loxton some extra space out in front. Mitch Curry making all sorts of excuses in the chat for not being on track here at Indy Road tonight. I don't want to hear any of them, mate. Hey, if you want to get in on the action in the comms booth, come and join me. Because I would always appreciate your perspective on the season so far. See how you're feeling, or maybe you're just enjoying it here at this point. Either way, perfectly valid way to spend a Monday evening. Salhani sends it deep up the inside of Josh Harris. Harris is going to have to run all the way to the curb. Jamie Dyke in the background follows him. Harris has still got just enough of an overlap to force position. Here comes Jamie Dyke looking up the side of Harris as well. Jamie Dyke over, under, looking for a way through, just can't get there in the end. Harris manages to hold on to 12th for the moment, but Dyke, Starrett and Buchanan all sitting in behind him, waiting for just the slightest sniff of a mistake to make their presence felt once again. Salhani, meanwhile, looking reasonably comfortable. Out of curiosity, if a driver brakes under safety car conditions, do they get a penalty? Now, define braking under safety car conditions. Like brake checking? I'm gonna ask for some clarification there before I go spouting off any answers. Will Buchanan sending it deep under brakes as well. Starrett, no choice but to go on through. 10 seconds. I feel like I should keep up with the Formula 1 more. No Tom Wilson slander here, I promise you, Ben Swim. But look, he's been pushing pretty hard all night, and just getting maybe a little bit of his own pressure back here from the likes of Hinz and Ridley. There's no denying though that Hinz has got the pace to run with his teammate Loxton out in front. Of course, none of that matters if you can't get the pass done. Jamie Dyke finds himself right on the rear bumper of Harris. Here he goes, looks up the inside, doesn't see the move, but Harris, a big lockup, goes sideways, loses 2, 3, 4 positions. Dyke, Buchanan and Starrett all getting through. If Ian Ward had been much closer, he would have picked up an extra one there as well. If Tom gets a podium, beers on you. Duly noted. And at this stage, he's certainly looking on for one. Got the pace, don't get me wrong. Chris Lashbrook into the pits. So the first of the drivers to make their, what I would imagine is scheduled pit stop here at lap 13. As we see Ron Long coming in as well. We'll see these pit stops starting to happen. The question is, what are these guys going to do? Do they just hang in there and make Brett Loxton make the first move? Or, potentially, does Thomas Hinz see an opportunity for a bit of the... Look, I can never remember overcut, undercut. Someone help me out. It's been a long weekend, alright? But he's got an opportunity to maybe just give himself some clear air here, get out from behind Wilson. If he pulls into the pit just a little earlier than planned, perhaps. Brett Loxton, though, extending his gap to over 2 seconds now, so something's got to happen here. Speaking of something happening, we go back to Jamie Dyke, who's charging through. Salhani out of the way. Will Buchanan gets through as well. Look for Starrett having a look up the inside as well. Blocked by Buchanan. Not intentionally, of course. Salhani and Starrett side by side. Josh Harris, what are you doing in the background, my friend? I think that was meant to be a pit entry. If not, it is now. Here it is. Hinz has finally got the run on Wilson. But Wilson back on the inside, regains again. Kyle Ridley wants a piece of it, can't quite get there. Thomas Hinz regathers. Wilson under all sorts of pressure. And that continues for yet another lap. 14 out of 36. And this other little pack forming up behind Jamie Dyke now for ninth. Certainly looking like a good one to keep an eye on as well, as Gresh and Buchanan go side by side. Salhani's right there. He'll be looking to follow Buchanan through on the inner line and force Gresh to the outside. Salhani doesn't quite have the pace to get through there. Big moment, gets a little bit loose. Flash of the lights. And Adrian Gresh thought that perhaps there was something in it, maybe? Didn't see any contact, but that's what to say it didn't happen. Salhani, though, doesn't want to get held up. I don't know that Adrian Gresh is doing much of the holding up, though, to be fair. Salhani's lost another position. Oh, there goes Starrett. Starrett's around. Thankfully, no walls there, so he's going to be able to get that moving again fairly quickly, but he's going to lose a lot of positions as he waits for the track to clear. Does a good job of not dragging too much back onto the track in terms of debris. Burns and Coleman. Coleman's still carrying that damage from the hit into the wall in the opening couple of laps, so hasn't been in to get that repaired just yet. Wilson continues to just grip onto whatever he can in that cockpit to help him hold on to second position. Hinz is right there with him as they come down the back straight, or what we have of a back straight here at Indy Road anyway. Look at the closure there as Hinz gets that extra pace through the corner. I've said it earlier, Team Jinx shifters, they're set up absolutely giving the mid-corner grip that they need here at Indy Road for these slower turns. And you see it almost every lap. Hins a big send, late on the brakes again. Very nearly making contact. In fact, probably overcorrected a little bit to avoid it. That's going to put him at risk from Ridley, and also opens up just a bit of a gap here for Wilson. It might be the first time in a few laps that Wilson's been able to look at turn one and not feel like he needs to look in the mirrors. More of those pit stops happening. McCrowan's in. One of the first of the top 10. The first of the top 10, in fact, to get on in there. Jake Slade, welcome to the chat, mate. Hope you're well, apart from the injury. Tell you what, you are missing out on some absolutely cracking racing so far this season. Hopefully you're back at it fairly soon, though, because it would be great to have you as part of it, mate. The more the merrier on these tracks, although I'll be honest, 28 cars here on Indy Road seems like a lot. I don't think we've seen much in the way of a piece of clear track at all in the, quick math, somebody, 44 laps? 34 laps that we've done so far tonight. Some bounces off one of the dangerous curves in the background. You see, just try to watch what Will Buchanan's doing here. Sorry, Jamie Dyke and Buchanan in close together in the background. Burns and Coleman still going at it, but they're catching Gresh now. So plenty of pace. Jared Burns, though, he's I think it's probably only the damage to Coleman's car that's keeping him from having a real crack at passing. He's going to be missing a lot of that front end grip for braking, which is going to affect everything for corner entries. And unfortunately for a supercar, it's about your best shot at making the pass is to get it done under brakes. So it's going to take just about everything David Coleman's got in his bag of tricks to keep progressing here. And maybe, in fact, the strategy is just to stay glued to the back end of the Black Hawk Motorsports Mustang and get the toe through as many of these corners as you possibly can. Thomas Hins is into the pits. So he's decided he's had enough of that for now. He's going to try for that undercut at right about the halfway point of race number 2 here tonight at Indy Road. Oh, the old sporting injury. What age do you have to be before you can claim it as an old sporting injury? Certainly there has to be a minimum age before you're allowed to say, oh yeah, old sporting injury, right? Coleman thinks about side-by-side through the chicane. That would have been probably a little bit too bold, even for Fishy Motorsports, honestly. Yeah, absolutely spot on. Buchanan is absolutely moving. He's almost caught up, and of course getting caught up in some of the earlier, not carnage this race, but certainly some moments happening. Now he's back up to just a couple of spots back where he started. David Coleman, a big moment there. Big lock up into the back of the Black Hawk Motorsports entry, and I have no doubt that we'll see Coleman wanting to redress that if he can. Aaron Gilbert's into the pits as well. .30 is absolutely not old enough to claim old sporting injury, my friend. So you've got at least another 10 years before that qualifies. I haven't started claiming my ACL as an old sporting injury yet. This year is 40, so yeah, 30 you definitely can't. Don't shoot the messenger, that's just the way it is. Harrod and Mortimer side by side. Mortimer's got a bit of pace there in the Camaro around the outside of the turn. He's going to set up nicely to the inside here, force Harrod over that over the inside of that curb. Harrod's still going to have the better pace though. Although Mortimer's got in front. But Trev Mortimer looking to make up for what was frankly a bit of a shocking race 1 for him. Up in 11th right now. That's still yet to make his pit stop though. Jared Burns into the pits now. But Keep our eyes, though, up front. We haven't actually seen much of this bloke so far this race because he's been too far out in front. Brett Loxton, almost 6 seconds ahead of Thomas Wilson right now. Huge gap on the rest of the field. Just too much pace. Far too much pace for anyone else on track right now. And that includes his teammates, who I assume are running the same kind of setup. Trev Mortimer's come in for the pit stop. Now Thomas Hinz, in 13th at the moment, gets the pass done on Nathan Bowman. He's on fresh tyres, only a couple of laps old, and he is the leading car that has made their pit stop. As we see Bowman head for the pits in the background. So this will be one to watch when you see the likes of Wilson and Ridley start to come into the pits. Just where does Thomas Hinz end up in relation to them? For the moment, effective race leader, but realistically, it's going to take a lot to stop Brett Loxton here tonight. Golfing career doesn't start till you're 40. Can confirm my disc golf career has started this year. So that sounds about right, doesn't it? I don't think 6-year-olds ever have the patience for golf, though. Honestly, I think it's that they love golf. They just like hitting things with other things. Yeah, McCrone has dropped back. He's made his pit stop on 15, which has certainly been part of dropping back through the positions. But no real major issues for Daniel McCrone at this stage. He's had a couple of off-tracks so far this race. And we'll go back, we'll take a quick look at those for you, Scott. The first, just that lock-up into turn 1. And then a bit of contact there, and he's probably spent a little bit longer in the pits. As a result, that's contact with Ryan Palmer. With those two coming together. Not a great deal in it. And yeah, spot on. He did come out in front of Thomas Hinz. We can go back in just a moment and take a look at the pass there. Coleman and Gresh still going. That said, wasn't Coleman on the back of Harrod just a moment ago? Tell you what, I'm struggling to keep up. There's too many red cars in the field. Brett Loxton into the pits now. So this will be interesting to watch. Thomas Hinz in 8th. Keep your eye on him. And just see how far out Brett Loxton is on the way out of the pits. While we're doing that, the pass for Thomas Hinz on Danny McCrone looks like this. Big moment, just a bit of a slide there out of the corner for McCrone. And that's where Hinz has gotten through. That one back on lap 17. I feel like that's what you're doing here, Scott, isn't it? Just asking for more and more replays. Loxton on his way out from the pits. So here he comes. Thomas Hinz. Take a look in the background. There's Hinz just crossing the brickyard line now. So Thomas Hinz has had a fantastic run. Loxton's actually waiting to let him get through with that run. Or at least it looked that way. In the end, just a very, very late pit speed line. Loxton and Hinz now only a second separated. That's really interesting. Either Hinz has had that much pace from getting that clean air, or Loxton's taken a bit longer. And when we talk about the length of the pit stop here, most of these guys spending somewhere between 15 and 18 seconds in their pit box, a total of around about a minute and 5 to a minute and 10 from end to end of the pit lane. So it's actually almost 20 seconds is a bit of a gap still, but it's pretty close to a full lap you actually spend in the pits, because it is such a short and fast lap here at Indy Road. Jamie Dyke and Will Buchanan in 2nd and 3rd come into the pits. So you'd have to think that Loxton and Hinz will get out in front of them. The real question now will be Thomas Wilson, who finds himself on his own out in front. Well, he does have one of the lapped Blackhawk Motorsports cars for company at the moment. It's just how long can he sustain this? Yeah, it's one of those tracks, isn't it? Every time you get a short, fast track with a long pit lane, it can make such a huge difference compared to some of the others where they're a bit shorter. I still, honestly, the worst pit lane in existence is when you find yourself on the full-length Spa pit, though, which is, I think from memory, something like about 2.5 minutes end-to-end in that pit. It's pretty close to a full lap of Spa. It's horrific. I reckon that the last race that we had at Spa was the first time that I've had to adjust the settings for our broadcast to actually show the pit stop timer down the bottom for longer, because usually 1.5 minutes or so is plenty to let you see what's going on. But not everywhere. Not everywhere. Thomas Wilson, start lap 23. So at this stage, he's going to have to be thinking about when he actually heads in. 24 seconds gap back to David Coleman. The one that he's interested in, though, is the gap to Brett Loxton. So right now, only 45 seconds back to Loxton. So you'd have to think Thomas Wilson, if he spends... Look, the longer he goes here, the less time he has to spend in the pit, for sure. But let's say he spends a minute in the pits. That's going to put him back in around about 9th or 10th on pit exit. So some way to go yet. For the moment, though, Wilson looking reasonably comfortable. David Coleman, not perhaps where he'd really like to be. Wilson continues on for another lap, though, so he's going to try and push this as far as he possibly can. Brett Loxton, though, starting to bring the time down, now just under 44 seconds. It's not much, but he's getting closer. And you're absolutely spot on, Scott. We are certainly threatening a Team Jinx Shifters 1-2-3 right now. Kyle Ridley, the only thing that stands in the way of that full Team Jinx podium. And, you know, potentially Thomas Wilson. But we'll have to wait and see what he can do here. If he can get if his pit stop is 1.5 minutes, that's going to bring him out in about 10th position. If he can get it down to less than that, then he might stand a chance. But right now, he's going to have a pit stop end-to-end of less than 43 seconds. And I cannot see that being the case. You know it's not intentional, Courtney. You know I wouldn't do that intentionally. Will Buchanan's just set the new fastest lap at 1:29 flat, which, as I glance down our timing sheets, is a good 2/10 quicker than just about everyone else on track. The only other person within that sort of distance, none other than Brett Loxton, who last lap set a 1:29.08. So Buchanan and Loxton absolutely with pace this evening. Buchanan, unfortunately, just a little bit far back to be challenging for the podium steps by the look of things. David Coleman's in from second place. And Adrian Gresh comes in from third, so Thomas Wilson out in front. It's all up to him now to see just how far he can push on these tyres. And, of course, the fuel that he's got on board. What I really need is some way Who's got a calculator out there? Who knows what sort of fuel they use around the Indy Road course in the Gen 3 Supercar? Mitch Curry, you've got to have an idea, surely, right? Just how far does an 80-litre tank get you here? This will be fairly indicative, though. David Coleman and Adrian Gresh, both in the pits right now. We're in second and third. Let's see just how far down they actually drop. The long way back. As we wait on Thomas Wilson. Right now, looking like coming out in around about 8th position, possibly a little further ahead. It's all going to come down to the length of time that he spends in the pit bay, and Coleman probably a pretty good indicator. David Coleman spending 1 minute and 8 in the pits, although probably a bit of a repair there to be done. But perhaps we look at Adrian Gresh, who also spent 1 minute and 8 in pits. So yeah, long transit time, absolutely the killer here at Indy Road. Thomas Wilson not looking on track to hold on to this at this stage, I don't think. Danny McCrowan starting to reel in Aaron Gilbert for 5th position with the assistance of a little bit of lap traffic. Oh, big moment there. Just a little confusion on who was going which way. Gilbert's going to have a little bit of damage on the front end, and that's helped McCrowan close the gap even further. It's Chris Lashbrook, I believe, in the background, just getting caught up in all of it. We jump back to now Dean Power and Jimmy Anidis, the battle for 17th. Luke Speck comes into the pits. He'll drop down from 10th, quite a way down through the field, I would imagine. Most of this field getting very, very spread out here. It's getting Wilson in 13th. Yeah, look, I don't think it'll be that bad. Here we go, we're about to find out, because Thomas Wilson has just entered the pit lane. So keep your eye on that gap to Brett Moxton, 1.3 Ks away. He's about 40 seconds back right now. This is going to have to be the best pit stop that this team has ever managed. Let's see just how quickly Wilson can get in and out here. The long, agonising drive down through the pits. Here, on track, comes Brett Moxton, followed by Thomas Hinds. And Moxton goes past. Thomas Wilson coming out of the pits right now, but he's still got to wait till that cone before he can get on it. Here he goes. Cold tyres, foot to the floor. Kyle Ridley gets through. Aaron Gilbert just getting to the turn now. So Gilbert's gone from needing to get past Ridley to now need to get past Ridley and Wilson to make this a 1-2-3 for Team Jinx. It looks unlikely. Ryan Palmer battling with Jamie Dyke. Is this going to be our rivalry for the season? These two have somehow managed to find each other once again. It's made for us, isn't it? Dyke Palmer going at it. Ryan Palmer performing well beyond what we'd expect from not just an M Cup driver, but anyone from ADHD, really, let's be honest. Battling it out with Jamie Dyke for 7th at the moment. Just trying to keep in touch. Look at the background, there's Will Buchanan starting to slowly chip away. Yeah, it was a very quick stop from Thomas Wilson, but it's all relative at this point. A 1:05, just shy of 1:06 end to end in the pits, so a couple of seconds quicker than the likes of Brett Loxton, but that is the nature of it. There is I believe, a little bit of variability built into iRacing in terms of how long your stops take, particularly how long the tyre changes take. But to give you some idea of it, Kyle Ridley had a particularly quick stop, actually. Only spent 15.08 in his bay and got out in 1:05.17. Thomas Wilson, 1:05.82, but only spent 14.5 in the bay. So Ridley obviously doing something very, very right in terms of his transit speed and pushing that to the limit. Lap 28 now, 36 folks. We're getting closer and closer to the end of race 2 here at Indy. It's not the oval racing you tend to expect here, but it is nice to see people taking right-hand turns from time to time on these tracks. And probably the strangest thing to see here is the fact that it is a right-hand turning track. Or at least the way we use the oval banking here. Ryan Palmer now just kind of floating. He's a little bit too far off the back of Jamie Dyke to really threaten. He's still got just enough of a gap to Buchanan. Let's look ahead though, because Aaron Gilbert and Danny McCrowan looking like getting side by side. McCrowan thinking about it, not quite making the move. Big moment from Gilbert. That's allowed McCrowan through. Gilbert drops a spot. Just locking the brakes. Those tyres just starting to feel it a little now as we get into the dying stages of this second race here tonight. But Brent Loxton out in front looking very, very comfortable. What's more, the gap that he's opened up to Thomas Hinz, almost 5 seconds now. Absolute monster of a drive from Loxton. Dyke, Palmer and Buchanan on their way into turn 1. Buchanan's closed that gap up significantly. A bit of a slide there from Ryan Palmer. That's going to cost him exit speed. Buchanan capitalises, closes it even further. Now the pressure. Ryan Palmer goes wide. Buchanan goes through. Now is Palmer going to try and latch on, or did he actually let Buchanan through intentionally? That's the question. Further back, Luke Speck and Nathan Bowman side by side through the same corners. Nathan Bowman, a beautiful over-under move. Speck, though, looks to dive back up the inside, doesn't quite get there. Backs out of it. Little bit of contact. Bowman establishes himself up in 21st. But Speck's not done with this yet as they make the run down the home straight. They'll be going into turn 1 side by side. Question is, does Nathan Bowman move across and defend, or is Luke Speck going to get an open look at that inside of the turn? Watch the noses. Who dips first? Nathan Bowman waits just a little bit later, but brakes just a little too heavily. Speck sneaks on through. Can Bowman respond? Further up, Kyle Ridley and Thomas Wilson side by side. Ridley on the inside, he's going to just barely hang on to it. Big slide, big moment there, puts them both off the track. Wilson goes off-roading. Ridley gets back on the track as quickly as he can. Flash of the lights from Ridley, he's not impressed with that one. I don't think we're going to see a redress though from Wilson, because that seems like a fair little moment for the two of them to have had. We'll wait and see though, because it does look like, is Wilson backing off here to allow Ridley through? He is. Okay, Wilson's redressing that, so obviously something there that we didn't see. No, look, you've got me, folks. I don't know what Wilson and Ridley are playing at here. What they are doing is allowing McCrowan to just come back into this battle for third, which I'm not sure they want to do, if I'm honest. Go back and we'll take another look at that one, because it was pretty tight coming into turn 1 there. We might take a bit of a look from overhead if we can, just see what it was that went on there. As we start lap 31, side by side across the brickyard, Ridley on the inside, a little bit more pace there for Thomas Wilson. Ridley brakes just a little earlier, gets it sideways, slides across, contact there. I don't think any contest from Ridley on the collision, nor the line that Wilson took across the grass afterwards. And I think Wilson actually not looking to redress, he would have been burning off a slowdown there, while trying to keep Ridley behind him. So that'll be an interesting one. Don't know if the stewards will weigh in on that or just leave it to the iRacing calculations, but in any case, it's not going to be me that makes the call. Dan Bartouche and Ian Ward now coming closer together for 13th. We will keep our eyes, of course, on Will Buchanan just up ahead as he approaches Jamie Dyke once more. We get towards the very last lap here in race number 2 at Indianapolis. There's not much in it and there's not much left to go, folks. Hope you've been enjoying the racing because we've seen yet another display of absolute chaos at times, to be fair, but some really, really high quality racing. And it sets the tone for what is sure to be a mega season still ahead of us. Next week, of course, we head to Brands Hatch, and then the one I'm really looking forward to, July 21st, we find ourselves at the Bend. It's our only visit to Australian tracks in the first half of the season, and we're not back again until round 7 for Bathurst, which you kind of have to have in any Gen 3 supercar season, really, don't you? But the Bend is a track that I enjoy thoroughly, and I'm sure is going to make some amazing racing in supercars. As Bartouche just drops away off the back there. Jamie Dyke and Will Buchanan just having to deal with that little bit of lap traffic now. That's Chris Lashbrook from ADHD. Gets out of the way. Oh, big moment for Buchanan in the background. Can he keep it off the wall? He can't. Contact there. Hopefully no damage done. That front left looks to be dragging. I think he might have snapped up some of the suspension. Sparks coming off the front end. Hopefully that is just the front bar dragging, but it does look to be a little worse than that. That front left all locked up. Some big, big damage to Will Buchanan's car, and that might be his race done. Can he get it back to the pits from here? Doing his best to keep it off the track and out of the wall, but that front left in all sorts of poor shape. In case you're wondering at home, that is not what a Gen 3 supercar is meant to look like as it makes its way around. Gee, that was probably pretty obvious, though, wasn't it, folks? Real shame for Will Buchanan because he's had a cracking night of racing otherwise. But you get to this point of the evening, and unfortunately that's going to cost him a lot of positions that he's just not going to have the opportunity to make up in the next 3 laps. Coleman and Salhani now. Coleman not quite recovering the way he would have liked to from the earlier incident that he had, going into the wall at just about the same place, if memory serves. If we do go back to David Coleman's incident, it's all the way back on lap 4. David Coleman, contact there. Same place, completely different reason for it, but contact with that wall not doing him any favours either. That was right back on lap 4 this evening. And unfortunately for Will Buchanan, almost the same spot, but this time the curb bringing him undone. Very, very similar contact, but the damage far worse. That front left copping it all. Will Buchanan, as we saw, limping it back to the pits from there. The iRacing Designs replay doing a great job for us tonight. Ian Ward now finding himself catching the back of Dan Bartouche, the ETS Motorsports entry. Just a bit of a moment on the exit of those tyres. Starting to struggle just a little. That said, Ian Ward's tyres actually 4 laps older than the ETS Motorsport entry. Bartouche goes to the inside to defend. Fairly early on brakes. Is Ward going to get around the outside here? Goes very, very deep. He's going to have to watch those marbles. Just gets it pulled up. Ward absolutely looking for a way through as he gets the foot down, trying to send all of that power to the ground. Ward's pit stop back on lap 14 means that his tyres definitely starting to feel it at this stage. Has to be careful across the curb there. Can he have another crack, Bartouche, before this race is done? Just 2 laps to go for Loxton, just crossing the start-finish line now. So not much time left in it for these guys, and for the first time this afternoon, this evening, we see a little bit of sunlight poking through the clouds. Not a bad way to finish. Is he still on a controller, Mitch? I thought he'd got himself set up with a wheel. Actually, I called that out earlier. I thought he had just gotten himself set up with a wheel, or is it not all arrived yet? You might have a better idea than I do. Either way, impressive to go around the outside of the ETS Motorsport entry, just keeping it on the track. He's pushing very hard. He wants this position. But he's got to keep an eye out because Gresh and Ioannidis are now starting to catch up. We jump forward to 4th, Ridley and McCrohan. Do we have a bit of a last-minute battle brewing here? The gap's out in front though. Hard to believe. Loxton, then nothing. 6.5 seconds later, Thomas Hinds. 10 seconds later, Thomas Wilson. There you go, still in a controller. That is absolutely nutty. So Kyle Ridley right now, sitting almost, it's 19.5 seconds off P1. Brett Loxton absolutely demolishing the field this evening as he starts the final lap. There's the white flag as we make our way across the Brickyard line one more time tonight. After this, and our racing will be done. Ian Ward doing everything he can to try and close that gap again, but he'll also be holding off Gresh and Ioannidis as they make their last play. Ridley closing in on Thomas Wilson. Could he sneak a podium position here? Six-tenths to make up. Half a lap to get it done. He needs a big mistake from Wilson. Wilson driving the wheels off that car earlier. Has he done too much of those tyres? Given up, or is he actually finding himself running out of fuel after that very short stop? Ridley, a big moment. Can he get the move done? Wilson wide. Ridley up the inside. Wilson on the grass. He's not going to have the traction. Ridley gets through. Ridley up to the podium. Can Wilson respond? Meanwhile, Brett Loxton comes through, crosses the Brickyard. There's the checkered flag for Loxton. We go back. Wilson, Ridley, and McCrohan all locked in it. Thomas Hinds has just crossed the line in second. Kyle Ridley somehow has manufactured a 3rd place here. It's not done yet. Thomas Wilson's going to throw everything he's got at it. As they come to the line, Ridley sneaks home somehow in 3rd ahead of Wilson McCrohan. A stellar finish for him. As the rest of the field trickles on through, Ryan Palmer finishing in 8th. Strong result for him. David Coleman coming across the line in 9th now with James Salhani not too far behind. And Josh Harris from ADHD. Those boys having a cracking time in the AM Cup tonight. Gets across the line. And here comes Bartouche, Ward, Gresh and Ioannidis. We wait on the last of these drivers getting to the line. What a distance in the end for Brett Loxton to put on the rest of the field. Absolutely huge. 7 seconds and change over his teammate. And then 14 seconds back to Ridley, who takes 3rd by less than 2/10 in the end. Well, it's been a phenomenal night of racing. But now, of course, the results from race number 2. We'll take a look at some actual points here, shall we, folks? 200 points for Brett Loxton. And absolutely the 1-2 for Team Jinx Shifters. Thomas Hinz coming out in second. Kyle Ridley at the death snatches a podium position from Thomas Wilson. And Daniel McCrohan almost getting through for fourth, but not quite able to get there. Aaron Gilbert and Jamie Dyke behind them. Ryan Palmer, another huge week for him. Radio HD Racing finishing in 8th. David Coleman and James Salhani behind him. Josh Harris getting home in 11th. Then Bartouche and Ward ahead of Gresh and Ioannidis. Jared Burns and Dean Power, the two Blackrock Motorsports, finishing not too far apart either. Trev Mortimer from Road Racing Australia in 18th, then Daniel Harrod and Luke Speck in 19th and 20th. That's your top 20 for this evening. Bear with us for just a second, folks, as we look to get just a couple of updates done here to make sure that we can get the point system right for you. This is, of course, always the challenge of an M Cup competition, is just trying to make sure that we can keep an eye on how it is actually progressing throughout the season. And I'm not sure we're going to be able to do it necessarily, but we'll give it a good old try. Let's take a look and see if we can get these points. There we go. So in the end, Daniel Harrod and Luke Speck in 19th and 20th. Let's look further through the order. Nathan Bowman, Rod Along and Matt Keir ahead of Lashbrook and Buchanan, then East, Starrett and Lipsky finishing it out. We come back to the top, and let's bring on into the booth. For the first time tonight, I get to give my voice just a tiny bit of a rest, and a very well-deserved and last-minute third place for Kyle Ridley. Kyle, welcome back to the booth, first of all.
Hello, how's it going?
Mate, doing well. What a finish. Last lap, you were cracking on there for so long, and just that slight mistake from Wilson was enough. How much did the heart rate jump in that moment for you?
Oh, heaps, man, heaps. Christmas, birthday, it all came early when he made that ride. We had contact a few laps prior, but I didn't want to take advantage of it because he got a slow down cut in the field, so I sat behind him going through the chicane, so we lost so much time. But yeah, it's just to do it on the last lap like that, to intimidate and scare him off. It was a wild move, and I feel like I'm punching way above my weight, but I'm enjoying it.
Well, that's good to hear, mate, and certainly a great finish to the race for you tonight. How are you enjoying Courtney just letting us know that you screamed, and I'm sure she doesn't mean like a little girl, but I think it'd be fair to do that as well, because it was an awesome little last minute moment. How are you finding the racing so far? Right?
The racing is pretty good. I'm enjoying the elbows out nature. I normally do like GT3s lately or something like that, but this is taking me back to my old school days of MX-5s and Jettas, where we can door bang and get stuff done.
Actually survive
really enjoyed it. Yes.
Yeah, it does make a fair difference. Nice one. Well, mate, a cracking result here for round 2. What are you looking forward to? What's the track that you've got your eye on? I'm especially excited to see the Bend in action.
It'd be cool to see the Bend.
What are you looking forward to? Is it the Bend as well?
Well, this was a track I was really psyched for, and I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. But the Bend would be cool. It's a local track for me, so it'd be cool to race there for the first time on the sim. And I don't know how the season's going to play. I keep downplaying it to everybody, saying I'll be happy with a top 10, and here I am with 2 podiums to my name. So just want to keep on the momentum.
It's a good way to start, mate. Well done. Enjoy it. Let you go and unwind just a little bit, hey?
Yeah, thank you.
Kyle Ridley taking third place here tonight in your feature. We're joined now by none other than Thomas Hinz from Team Jinx Shifters. Thomas, you with us?
Yes, I am.
Mate, congratulations. A stellar drive this evening from yourself and, of course, your teammate out in front, Brett Loxton. What on earth did you guys do to those cars? Just what did you put in those fuel tanks? Because the pace that you had out there was unbelievable tonight.
not sure yet. Ask Brett that. He does all the hard work of setting up the cars. I just rock up and have a lob. So, Brett's a wizard with setups. He always does a really good job. So really, it's all credit to him for doing all the hard yards. It was really good fun. And, happy to get those results. I figured Brett was probably going to have me. He tends to be a little faster than me in supercars. We've raced together for many years. So he's always had just a slight edge on me in supercars usually. Every now and then it's a change, but usually that's the way. I was happy to get the second there in the second race and get a decent result in the first race as well. So it was really good fun.
Good to hear, mate. Your pit stop. Let's talk about that. Lap 16, massive undercut, and came out pretty nicely for that one. Was that an intentional piece, or was it more just a halfway home and thought you'd drop one in there at that point?
That was intentional. I knew I had the pace on Wilson and Ridley, so the plan was to pit a little earlier. I hoped they wouldn't pit. Pretty much it was going to be, if they pitted, I probably would have stayed out for a bit longer. If they didn't, which they didn't, I was going to pit. So pitted, put in a few quick laps to hopefully clear them, and I was pretty sure I'd probably hold on to tyres a little bit better. So I figured if I just get that nice gap, a big enough gap early, then I'd be able to hold on. So they wouldn't be able to catch back with that initial pace with the new tyres. It was all planned, and it worked out really well, thankfully, which is nice. Despite I was a little held on the first couple laps, but not too badly, thankfully. So it worked out really well, and even closer to Brett than I thought. But obviously, you have way newer tyres, so you have way more pace. But that was not the objective. The objective was to get the other two, to be honest. So it worked out really well, which is good.
No, good stuff, mate. We've been asking everyone at the start of this season. Obviously, it's a bit of a different pace, and as someone who's fairly new to the league, all things considered, how are you finding the racing here at the moment?
Yeah, really good. I think I said it in the Discord of the league. It reminds me a lot of AOSC, which is a supercars series way back. When was that even? It was like
just tell everyone ago? Back when I was a lad, and just roll with that. It's close enough. I've been sim racing for a little bit, I'm kind of like I'm not. I'm only 30, but I feel like I could say I'm one of the older guys in the sim racing sense, because I've been racing. My partner just confirming for a long time in sim racing, so I feel like I can say that in my opinion. AOSC was one of the main leagues back about 8-9 years ago or so, and that was really good fun. Like it was a great mix of really hard racing but really fair and still fun. Everyone wanted to still wanted to win and do well, but a lot of it was everyone still wanted to have a good time, and that was a big part of why the league was so much fun, because you could still have good hard racing and all that, but still have fun as well, and it wasn't too much about just too cutthroat, winning everything, all that stuff. So it reminds me a lot of that, which is good, because I think I feel like there's not a lot of leagues like that. So many leagues now, everyone is super, it's super cutthroat, and it's a bit much for me sometimes, to be honest. So I kind of did all my thing on sweating like that a while back. So it's good to be able to just enjoy it, but still have the hard racing as well, but with a bit more of that fun still there too. Good to hear, mate. Look, it's been a cracker of a race tonight. It's been great fun to watch. Thanks for putting on an awesome show for us once again. Before I let you go, anyone you want to say thanks to?
I'll say obviously thanks to Brett for the setup work as always. He always does a magical job with the setups, and big congrats to him on the double win as well. Big thanks to him for that. Big thanks to Team Boss Henry for the paint on the car. He always does an amazing job with the paints, and loves painting cars. It's mostly what he does in the sim. Big thanks to Henry for making such just fantastic win cars for us as well, and obviously Jinx Shifters and all the sponsors on the car as well. Big thanks to them, and big thanks to the league for putting on a great league and allowing us to have these great fun races in it, and thanks to you guys as well for the broadcast and making it look all fantastic and everything as well.
I can only work with what we're given, mate, and tonight's racing, no exception, a real cracker to watch back. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. 6 rounds left to go. Hopefully we'll get a chance to chat to you again soon. Hey, Tom?
Yeah, hopefully so. So thank you very much again.
Thomas Hinds taking second place there in our feature race. And hopefully Brett Loxton pops down to have a bit of a chat to us. If not, totally fine. But what a night for Brett, taking out the feature race there as well as the initial. So let's take a bit of a look at what we think the championship might look like now that we have wrapped up here for round number 2. And as an overall, this is give or take where we think we'll be sitting. Of course, there's a drop round to consider, but Loxton just extending his lead out in front over Thomas Wilson. Thomas Hinds, a cracking night for him, up 5 places based on those results into third. Jamie Dyke retains 4th, only just ahead of Dan McRyan and Kyle Ridley. Ryan Palmer still in the top 10. Josh Harris joining him down in 10th as well. Aaron Gilbert and James Salhani wedged in the middle there. And of course, the next AM driver down, Luke Speck, all the way down in 19th. So the 280 HD boys, keep your eyes on them. I don't think we'll see them in the AM class next season somehow. But it will all depend on the results over the next 6 weeks. Plenty of racing action still to come, folks. Do hope you've been enjoying the MCV8 series brought to you by Domains2U. This has been round 2 at Indy Road. We've got more V8 Supercar action here on the channel tomorrow night with the simulcast of the Alliance Sim Racing V8 Supercar series. And then Thursday night, if this isn't quite your jam, come back and join us for round 1 of the Formula Drivers League F4 Championship. That's right around the corner. It's going to be a huge week of racing. It's been an absolute pleasure having you along again this week, though. Until next time we see you, and I do hope it's tomorrow night that we see you back again, make sure you've hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the action yet to come. For now, though, from everyone here at Simple Racing Broadcast and on behalf of MC Motorsports, Domains2U, and of course our other sponsors here that have made it all possible, a very big thank you for coming along once again. And until we see you again, it is goodbye for now.